We have a quorum.
Right. Let's start our May 13th City of Estacada Economic Development Commission meeting. John, could you please lead us in a roll call?
Yes, sir, Carpenter. Eric Sale,
Here.
Cindy Moore,
Here.
Stephen Chandler. Ryan Carpenter's present,
Present.
Scott Stahl, absent. David Cross.
Here.
And Counselor McElroy.
Here.
Chair Carpenter, you have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you very much, Mr. Lagarza. Let's move to the approval of meeting minutes. Can I get a motion and a second?
I motion to approve the meeting minutes.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Awesome. Cindy's also
Oh.
raising her hand.
Okay, all right.
It's a yellow hand.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to Economic Development Council applicant. Mr. Lagarza, will you take it away?
Yes, thank you, Chair Carpenter. We don't have any public comment, right? Number 3, I don't think we had any,
Oh, yeah, I
Right
skipped
there,
that
so-
one. Sorry. Yep.
That's okay. We do have an applicant for the EDC and he's here to be interviewed or ask questions for you guys to consider for the commission here. And we'd like Jeff to come up here to the podium here. So,
Come on up, Jeff.
thank you.
Good morning again, everyone.
Good morning.
Jeff, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and why you are enthusiastic to be a part of our economic development team.
Well, let's see a little bit about my background. I'm new to Estacada. My family and I bought a property here about 5 years ago. Then the fire came through and took out the house and the barn. Took us a while to rebuild. So this summer we'll be celebrating our 2nd anniversary in Estacada. We sure do love it here. It's a beautiful community. Background wise, when I got out of grad school, I got my first big paying job, which was working as a cooperative extension agent in downstate New York. Did that for a couple of years. And really besides that and getting a job at McDonald's when I was 15, I've been a sole proprietor for most of my life. So after a couple of years as an extension agent, I hung out my shingle as a consultant, did that for a few years, got very lucky. I was invited to do a film project for one of my clients, and I realized, wow, what a fun adventure making films is. And that got me into a 30-year career as a filmmaker and writer and producer and maker of other communications tools. So that's mostly what my career has been about. And then when we lucked into this place in Estacada, I accidentally have become a small forest landowner, which is another great adventure. And we're in the process of trying to restore our place to working forest. I guess another piece that I should include in my story is that as a sole proprietor, I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the challenges that small business people have. And it was fairly clear to me early on that I wasn't going to have a 501k and that my Social Security allotment probably wasn't going to be enough to live on. So I tried to think about some other ways that I might plan for my retirement. And I started to get into property management, and eventually in an interesting roundabout way through one of the films that I made, I met an architect, and he and I ended up doing some development together. I would never call myself a developer because I don't have that skill set, but I've done a little bit of that and found it really interesting.
Yeah. Very cool. Thank you very much. Any questions from the commission?
I don't. It's the first time in a long while I've heard anyone describe downstate New York. Everyone speaks of upstate New York,
Yeah.
but downstate New York, of course, does exist. Yeah.
Yes.
What was your reason for wanting to join the committee?
You know, I feel like as a citizen of Estacada that I have some responsibility. I would like to be involved in something in my community that adds value. And this, to me, looked like a place where maybe I could make a difference. I just think that's terribly important. So that's my interest.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sale?
Yeah, can you tell me, what is a cooperative extension agent?
Great question.
So every state has a land grant institution. In Oregon, it's Oregon State University. And the job of the Cooperative Extension Service through these land grant institutions is to take the knowledge base generated by the university and extend it out to the community. So as an example, we've worked really closely with OSU Extension foresters at our place. And, you know, I started out at 5 years ago, and with the help of those extension agents, I have learned a whole lot more about how a person manages a forest. So it's a really valuable set of folks.
Wow.
Very cool.
Oh,
Well,
thank you.
if you have a deer issue in that forest, I can help you manage that.
We do have a deer issue, but you'd have to chat with my wife about that
Okay.
because she's a vegetarian.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Moore, any questions?
No, thank you. My follow-up question was already addressed with the kind of what drew you to this opportunity. So thank you. We appreciate your interest.
I do have a question or two for you all, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
It would be helpful to me to hear what you feel like your top couple of priorities are as you're looking forward in these next couple of years.
Well, we're a young commission. People have been definitely involved in different things in other commissions and on the community. But the Economic Development Commission was really, I think, started to give some input to the city council on areas of planning around economics. And we're really pushing now to move to put a line in the sand as a short-term economic development intention that we'll talk about that here, I think, in a little bit, but growing then to having a full-scale economic plan produced over the next years for use of the city. And then figuring out how to reach out to businesses and different people, places in the city to see how the city can better serve their needs to grow economically. Sometimes we know that there's an intention to grow economically, but we have to understand what's here, the benefits that are here on a grand scale, a global scale, but then right in the root scale to figure out, you know, what is real and tangible and where the intentions meet reality, granular. And so I think we're getting some things together on how we would do that, how we would reach that community. But yeah, that's overall, that's kind of what I see on that.
Yeah. Nope, I would agree. I would say our top priority right now as a young commission is to develop and complete and recommend a strategic vision to support the long-term growth and planning of the City of Estacada urban growth boundary is a big piece of the work that we're looking at. And Commissioner Sale, you know, is the CEO of one of the largest businesses inside the city limits, as well as I oversee the largest employer of the city as well. And so affordable housing and trying to find ways to attract our employees to invest their personal lives into this community is also a high priority for us as well. And so I would say those would be the top 2 or 3 areas that we're really pushing and focused on, in addition to trying to advocate to the city council the need for additional studies such as hotels, restaurants, McDonald's, and being a former employee, you might be able to help in that process. So anyways, really just trying to look and make sure that, you know, as growth occurs, how can we continue to play a leadership role in it?
Do we have time for one more question?
Just one more, yeah.
Okay. So there's for sure tension in the community between folks who would like to make sure that Estacada stay as it is or as it was, and people who are looking for a different path. And how are you all navigating that tension?
Well, I suppose I should say with British charm, but that is not likely to hold any weight. I think it's in any situation where an older city, an older community, I don't mean age, I mean an established community. And the future is coming and we have to adapt to that future. But Estacada is a very special place, and I can totally understand the wish to keep it, you know, as things were. I used to live just outside the city limits, and I remember one of my neighbors had lived there for about 52 years and remembered the days when the road was not paved. It was wooden planks that people would drive over, and, you know, there was some charm to keeping that. And I think that it's important that we maintain the environment and the values of what makes Estacada and makes it unique within the foothills of the Cascades, while also recognizing that we do have to grow and develop our community and make it economically sustainable for the future. And so it's about balancing opposites. I mean, you know, my family is 6, and it's like, if you ask 6 people what they would like to do for the day, you end up with a lot of opinions, or if you try and organize a meeting for 9 people. And so it's about balancing those seemingly opposite things and trying to make them coexist. And so it's really a balancing act, but we do need to progress. But we need to remember where our roots are and try to find our best pathway through that.
And part of what we do is learn what role we even play in some of these things as far as development. Sometimes we'll say, well, this is what Metro demands and this is what we have to do. And so it's learning how to learn information, how to check information, how to see how we can best represent the city of multiple different people and try to see things from their perspective, to remember how somebody would see this based on what their perspective is and what their longevity is. The messaging has to be respectful and appropriate to acknowledge those things that they want to see. You know, if it comes out as far as something's changing and they're all going to have to pay for it, well, they didn't ask for that change, and so they aren't excited about paying for it. And so sometimes, you know, we come a little bit late to the game, but it's trying to figure out as development grows how to, I think for me at least, is seeing if there's a way to speak into how we make sure that that growth and development is bore as much on the backs of the people that are doing that development and causing that need, and not saddled on the people that don't think they needed that. So one of our biggest things coming up here is a sewer plant, and the costs in that and things like that. So that's a big deal about how that's paid for and what parts are on a bond, and how that all plays out is very much a real contributor to tensions in that too.
Interestingly enough, I made a series of films for Lake Oswego when they revamped their sewage system, primarily so that the community could be aware of why the revamp was so expensive and what the benefits and challenges of creating this new sewage treatment system were.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Commissioner Moore, would you like an opportunity to answer that question?
Thank you very much. And my fellow commissioners were very eloquent in their responses. So just a couple of things to add on. And I do like what you were just saying about storytelling. And I think that's a very important part of the role that we play in the community. And I think being a convener of that type of information and like Eric mentioned, kind of balancing the desire to remain the integrity of the town that many grew up in, but also for the attraction of new residents. What does that mean in the long term? And what does it take to have a healthy community? And I think those are the types of questions and the platform that we bring as a convener of those types of topics from the business community's perspective on what is needed to have a healthy community for not only the business, but for the residents as a whole.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Moore.
You're welcome.
And in summarization, obviously I experience those tensions daily, and on some days I experience them hourly, between just the growth and capacity and the traditionalism of this great community. And I would just echo the sentiments of our commissioners that Estacada has a very rich heritage and something that the community who is multi-generational here is extremely proud of. While at the other end of that spectrum, growth is coming whether we want it or not. And so I believe that this is a commission comprised of true community leaders who wants to play a role in organizing and developing what's coming and is to some extent out of our control, while still honoring the heritage and legacy of this community. And so that's a paramount thing. And as we talk about growth, we want to make sure that it reflects the vision and values of the people who live here.
There's just one additional thing I'd like to add is that while maintaining the heritage of Estacada, very often people would like to maintain something without providing an answer for what is needed for the future. And the lack of ability to pass a school bond is a very good example of that, because yeah, we'd love Estacada School to stay the same, but physical things degrade and the school needs certain things doing for it and to it and for it to provide excellent education in future. And that was a physical requirement, that bond. And the fact it didn't pass was a rather short-termist view of the problem that we're faced with. And so while we're interested in preserving what Estacada is, we also must look to the future.
Yeah.
And we're now faced with the challenge of the electorate gave back to us the answer of no, but it didn't provide us with also a solution to the problem of the school needs to be upgraded, etc. So I'm all for tradition, but we got to move forward as well.
And there's different perspectives on that too, because I would look at that and I would say, well, there's something in there to learn from how we listen and how we learn. There's things to still retain and work and develop on so that we do learn, adjust, connect, see what the people, see what you go find, figure out what they have to say and how it needs to be incorporated. So.
Thank you very much and great discussion. Really appreciate the thoughtful questions, giving us the opportunity to kind of share our values with you as well. Are there any other questions and or comments for Jeff? So with that said, being the only person without any competition, I'd like to accept a motion to approve Jeff onto our team and a second, and then we can open it up for discussion after that if necessary.
That motion, I think he'd be a good addition.
Okay.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussions and or reservations? Okay, with that said, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Hi.
thank you. I think you can just come on over now.
Well, first it has to go to,
Oh, the city
City
council,
council has
that's
to
right.
approve.
My bad. Yep.
Yeah. You're more than welcome to stay and listen,
Yeah,
but what we do is then it goes on to the city council agenda for final approval there, and we'll send a notice out for after the May meeting.
Very
Yep.
good. I'll stick around.
Okay.
okay,
and give
thank
a
you.
listen. Thank you.
Thanks for saving me there.
No problem.
So,
No problem.
okay, moving on to the next agenda item, strategic plan, and particularly subcommittee input discussion. Mr. Lagarza, I'll yield the floor to you, and then anyone else that wants to jump in and participate.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Carpenter. The subcommittee, which consisted of Eric and David and Scott, convened from the meeting from last time as we talked, and they did a lot of work on it. We met, and then David took another pass that's included in the packet here. And I think it'd probably be best if David, if you want to report on it, out to their commission here, and then you guys can have discussion, but I think it was a lot of input and a lot of healthy discussion around it. So I'm excited for the commission to hear from that, provide some input there.
Thank you very much. The challenge I think we realized was that when you speak of economic development, it appears to be a rather broad brush thing that we have to economically develop Estacada to make it economically sustainable in 1, 5, 10-year chunks. But to do that is to make Estacada rather a generalist. And you could say that Estacada is great because it's on the edge of the incredible 1.1 million acre national forest, or you could say that it's a town that was established in 1905 and has great roots, etc. But you know, if you look at it from a kind of a marketing angle, that what is Estacada's most unique thing that we could develop to make it stronger in what it's already strong in, and then put our attention into that area for economic development? The package includes I went down from 18 pages to I think it's 12, all the reasons and looking at the comparable data for Sandy and Oregon City and Molalla, or when I first came to this area, I called it Molalla, which someone laughed at. And to look at what they've done in their economic feasibility studies and their 5, 10, and 15-year plans. And the one thing that became very clear is that Estacada is really already well tooled, I suppose you could say it. It already has a great strength in manufacturing and OEM development. And so we felt that putting that forward as a primary area for economic development, so that Estacada would be known as the place where businesses would want to go to establish themselves and to build businesses that are skilled within OEM manufacture, but that also other businesses within Estacada can contribute towards. And so we end up with an OEM manufacturing chain, which Estacada becomes known for. And we felt that that was a really strong area that we could put attention on. We already had Eric's business and a number of other businesses up at the industrial park. And we felt that that would be the number one thing for Estacada to focus on as part of our economic development. And we would do things to build that. We would do things to attract businesses. We would also, speaking to what Cindy just mentioned, that storytelling is really important. We would also tell the story of how businesses started and how they got established. And that story becomes part of the fabric of our future growth in that area. So there are a couple of other areas there, but the one thing that became quite apparent is that we don't just need economic development, but we need a focus for that economic development. That's 12 pages in a nutshell. Mass timber and wood products were another area that we could call it secondary focus 1 is what it says here. Secondary focus 2 is tourism, outdoor recreation, downtown revitalization, and such. We already have that kind of message within everyone's mind that Estacada is known as a great place for tourism, as a great place for recreation, and downtown revitalization has to some extent already started to occur. But the kind of jewel in our crown is more of a light under a bushel at the moment, because we have this extremely strong manufacturing area and we have great skills and businesses within the area already. And we felt that that was the number one thing that we could put forward, and that Estacada could become really well known for and start to attract businesses and build an economic infrastructure and foundation within that and continue to develop that.
Yeah, one of the things, just to build on what Commissioner Cross shared, the manufacturing hub that exists, I think we're kind of uncovering that many businesses in there are feeding other businesses that make eventually a final product. We have some examples that sort of feed things to a final product even in the park. But because it has that strength, what we should be attracting is more of that final product. And if we can message that out there, there should be people making that final product that would desire to be in a community that has that all at their fingertips. And so if we can tell that story and relay that and look for that, there is a really ripe and exciting opportunity for those that are here and those that come. But then, then it's going on and it mentions in there how we interact and work together in order to how we find team members to add to our teams, how we get that word out, how we train, how we work with the schools, how we work with, housing. There's all those pieces that just make it that look out for the possible concerns that will exist and try to address those along the way.
How we transport them.
Yeah.
I was going to ask that actually an inside baseball question, which is irrelevant to this, but I was just curious, when you talk about the final product and our geographical proximity to, main veins
Mhm.
where the final product needs to go. But I would assume there's savings realized when the parts that are being made are just going directly to the final.
Yeah. So there's a couple, when you talk about transporting, there's a couple things that came to mind, but that is one of them. For us, we do many different processes under one roof. If you extend that to say many different things in the same neighborhood,
Yeah.
takes that one step further. We also uncovered that, we've come upon this and tried to address before, but when we talk about Estacada and industry and people living here and working here, which is a mantra that we're really trying to push, our public transportation does not serve that. You cannot live here and take the bus to work here. You can take the bus to work to Clackamas or Portland, but if you live in Estacada, you cannot take the bus to the industrial park.
Yeah.
And it's a real problem. And so that's, as we look at these things, it's just some of the opportunity of the commission maybe is to open up against some of those things to say, how do we do that? And I know opening up now too is some of the things around even natural gas. That's John's really doing a lot of work on right
Great.
now around that as
Great.
well. But it's picking those pieces out and trying to get many different things underway at the same time.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Commissioner Moore, any comments if you had an opportunity to take a look at it?
It's funny how in alignment we all are for as short of time as we have worked together. And I think it was really enlightening going through Eric's facility and learning more about your story. And I'm not going to harp too much on the storytelling part, but it's really starting to resonate with me because that I think people can get behind and get around.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
what is it about Estacada that enticed you? What is it to grow you? So like those type of business profiles, I think would be a nice complement to the work that we're doing around storytelling because it's real and relatable. And it's not a hypothetical, new business recruitment from out of town. This is locally grown. And I just think that may be an area of emphasis that could support our complete body of work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the input. So Mr. Lagarza, what would you recommend then as our next steps in terms of proceeding forward with this visionary work?
Well, thank you, Chair Carpenter. I think one of the things that when we undertook, this with the subcommittee, we were looking at like what would be establishing like the RFQ for developing that strategic plan. I think we have like a really good foundation of what, I've heard like logistics, business recruitment, marketing, exposure, right? So I think our next step would be to say, take this plan and draft up like a RFQ or request for information to bring back in January. So then the committee could say, yes, this is what we would like to see done. If we go out for that RFQ or RFI for someone to do this work, right? So I think we've done a great job. I think we've got like 5 great tasks in here to really be identified. But I think we also want to bring that RFQ back and be like, yes, this would be the scope of the work. And this is important that we have that. And then we could recommend that to council. We can, if we need to tweak it, we can tweak it, but then we could recommend it there. So I think, logistics is real important, right? Not only from like how we can remove our products from the beginning to the end to the port or shipping, right? And how you do that. I really think, just the awareness of like what Cindy and Eric have talked about and David about the capacity in our park. I think I really loved looking at like the OEM as like for that 50 acres. So how do we make sure that whoever's doing the work provides back to us a really good, strong business recruitment strategy for looking for that type of talent, and who are those players in our market, right? So really understanding in the Pacific Northwest, if we're and building that alignment with our partners, with the county and the state, and really getting that message out, right? And doing some strong messaging, and whether it's, we've heard before, like advertising on the radio, videos, I think that's a really strong component too that needs to be addressed in the strategic plan for the next 5 to 10 years. And then lastly, I think there's this, every business community I've talked to here, is just really how we align with the school district on building a sustainable CTE program. And what are those programs that we're building and aligning with the industry here would be important here too. So I'm happy to take a pass at it and bring back a draft from what the subcommittee does, and then circulate that ahead of time if you guys want to get some feedback before the meeting. And then we could bring it to, or happy to take it to the subcommittee too, to like, if you guys want to provide some feedback on it, and then we can talk about that too. So keep it moving.
I'm good with that, keeping it moving. And so if you want to put a
Okay.
draft together and either bring it to the subcommittee or
Are
the
you
whole
guys, Eric
team,
and,
either way is fine with
are
me.
you guys okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I do think, to just go back to it, that storytelling will be important.
I think storytelling is really important.
Because when you tell a story, you create emotional engagement, and it's the emotional engagement that will create the buy-in. And I think that PR would actually be really effective here, because if we're telling that story, if we're promoting the narrative that this is what Estacator stands for, and this is what Estacator is, that will be something that, media journalists will hook onto, because they like a good story that's underpinned by facts.
Yeah, and I think, within the strategic plan, just identifying some of the, the most successful means of doing that, and then being able to move forward, implementing that. And Jeff brought up a really interesting thing. He was talking about the wastewater treatment plant today with Lake Oswego. I mean, that's important, to be able to communicate and message that. I think we could really build for, that 50-acre piece in my mind is probably one of the nicest pieces in the Pacific Northwest and the Portland region. But building that story and showing like the type of operators we have in that park and the community we have and the logistics to be able to get it out, that can be just so impactful. That could be the best marketing thing we have. If you have segments of the business community in the video or something, right? Boy, that could just be, a business looking, they can click on the link. They're like, oh, wow. That just, I think, really gets people excited that want to come in here and understand what they have and what the fabric of this community to be able to recruit something like that. Right. And then also that just messages, back through council, back through everyone, this is where we're wanting to go. Right. And that's what, we don't want it to be, a storage yard, right? We want it to be, I'm just giving an example, but like we need to be attracting that type of manufacturer into that park for this community. So just a thought. So
Great. Thank you. Okay, so I think you have what
Okay.
you need.
great.
Moving forward, industrial campus night out / open house. We talked briefly about this in the last commission meeting. I think Commissioner Sale volunteered to piggyback into his thing, but I would assume some things have changed since then, or maybe not. So,
Well, I think if we plan, I think there needs to be some sort of overall plan.
Yeah.
And then consider where it might fit.
Yeah,
you
uh,
know.
I'm gonna go to the Public Traffic Commission meeting at the NMA and ask them if they would be willing to have us let the industrial campus host that. It would be on August 5th. So I just wanted to put that out there. If this is something, I know Eric would, we briefly talked about like thinking about having an open house out there, but I think having, National Night Out would, working with the sheriff's department or police department, having some equipment there for people to get in or go, and we could, if the Public Safety Committee would be open to that, then that would give us time in June to really work with what businesses and kind of, what would they see, the timeline. Ryan, work with the school district if we could get some folks to help volunteer and be there, just to, we really want to build that connection with the campus, with the rest of the city. I think it could be a great win-win for everyone around awareness of what that connection is from there. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to give us approval, but if not, then we could look at another date, but I'm fingers crossed that maybe we get it.
Yeah.
So,
I could suggest that the high school provides a jazz band or something for
yeah.
that as well.
Oh, yeah.
it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe there's, we talked at, I think we could probably get some sponsorships too. So like if we did it from, if we get approval, but I think let's see what happens in May, and I'll just ping everyone. And if we get, then we could, at their next meeting, we could come up with a planning strategy. And I think it would be great for, businesses that want to have an open house and come in. They can determine what what areas they would like the public to see. They can, the interest from there and from that standpoint there. So.
Yeah. That sounds great
I think
and
we look fun.
exciting. Commissioner Moore, I see that your hand is raised.
Thank you kindly. And maybe this is for the next meeting as John just teed up, but I'm envisioning for this National Industrial Line Out that we incorporate some type of, and maybe it's an overused term, but kind of the live, work, play. So it's not just an open house for the businesses, but it's how we connect the community and what it means to live in a town, right? You could work in this town, you can live in this town, and you can play. And I love the band because that
Yeah.
is the play. That could be the play piece too. But really just kind of bolstering that complete community approach. So it's not just like we're trying to highlight businesses for the sake of businesses. We're showing that you can work in these businesses, you can raise a family in this community, and you can play as well. So maybe that's for future planning. I tend to go in the weeds quickly, but just wanted to throw that out there for consideration.
Awesome. No, that's a great idea. And the jazz band's come up a couple times. They just took 4th place in the entire state of Oregon too in the most recent competition. So they're pretty skilled. So they'd be a great example of something I'd love to showcase.
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
There's very few places you can have an industrial park with 1.1 million acres of national forest just up the road.
Yeah.
And also that there is such an amazing recreation area with such a good business community. So
Yeah.
it speaks to what Cindy just mentioned there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, moving on to commissioner comments. This is open for commissioners on any reports. Commissioner Sale, anything?
I was at the city council meeting last night, and it's pretty exciting to see that that council being active and doing what they feel the people of the community want them to do, and making movements in that way. So that's pretty nice. I think the meeting before that, they made some there's some clarification as far as the budget process for the possible economic development plan, that it would fall under their budget versus ours. And so they're very,
Great.
interested in as far as the importance of that.
Great.
The other thing I have in the future, if we could consider, I have a important meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning. And so, no, it's at 9:30. And so I have to cut out and run here if we're going to have this at this time. So consider if there's any chance of moving this back, to a half hour later in the day to start would be
Does it work?
nice.
for-
Yeah, I could,
you
how
wanna-
about just 11, would 11
10:30, does
o'clock
that
work?
11 would be
2
great.
minutes for the-
Yeah, let's do 11 o'clock.
You want 11?
I
Okay.
think I
I
heard you say that
have-
earlier too.
Okay.
I
Cindy's
do have
thinking,
a, yeah, sorry, I do
Oh.
have a conflicting, I host a community partners roundtable at 11 o'clock on the second Tuesday of every month.
Okay. Yep, well, we need to accommodate that then as well.
Mhm.
Because Wednesdays look for.
The second Wednesdays are extremely
Extremely
bad
bad.
for me.
Also.
Okay.
You know, if
Um,
it works for the rest of the commission, to move it to 11, let me talk to my team and see if there might be some variance there. I can check and see.
If later in the day works for the commission as well, it looks like we do also have scheduling availability for 2 PM on the same day.
I can't do that one.
Okay.
But I could do, like, it's just the second week of things is usually my problem. But like, I could do the third, is yours a reoccurring 10:30 every Wednesday or
Yeah.
9?
Yeah,
9:30 every
every
Wednesday?
every week. Yeah, but I don't have anything based on, so moving this to a different, like the
Day would
third
help.
Wednesday or whatever
Yeah.
else doesn't, that would be, or third Tuesday would be great.
Oh,
with me
that's what I
too.
meant, Tuesday, yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner Moore, is your standing 11 o'clock? Is that an every Tuesday thing?
It is the second Tuesday, so the third
Okay.
Tuesday looks great.
Okay,
The third Tuesday at
Third
11?
Tuesday at
third
11, does that
Tuesday
work
at
for you?
11.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank
That's
you for
between
that
all my
consideration.
goals.
Oh, yeah,
Does
absolutely.
that work?
Let me send a message over to Evelyn just to double check.
Okay, when you're a commission comprised of busy leaders, synchronizing calendars is the
We're making it
largest
work. I know
challenge
it's
of all of it.
we're moving, okay, so
Don't even introduce other time zones. That's even more fun.
Yep.
third Tuesday.
Okay, thank you for your commissioner comments, Commissioner Sale, Commissioner Moore.
Just a thank you to Eric for hosting the tour after last month's meeting. Again, I learned so much and it was just enlightening to see and just appreciated the extra time. Thank you. That's it for me today.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Cross.
The other thing I would note is that there just seems to be a lot of buzz and excitement around this revised economic development plan looking further ahead. Now, that could be my own subjective misgivings that it's not really that exciting, but it just feels as though we have something here that promotes Estacada really with its strengths into the future. And it's less of a generic economic development, but we've got a really incredible thing here for our little city, and I think it's a really good time. Yeah.
Agreed. Thank you. And my just quick comments, I want to thank Mr. Lagarza. He and I had the opportunity to meet a couple of weeks ago, one-on-one to begin to expand and develop more partnerships between private industry and the school district. And very excited for the infant stages of our overhaul of our CTE programs. And I just wanted to share with everybody that we've hired somebody full-time to oversee, spearhead, and lead the development of improved pathways, both with local partnerships, community colleges, as well as big partnerships. Excited to share that our auto shop, which has evolved into a very hobby-based auto shop. Next year, we'll be moving to a diesel technician program, and we're partnering with PAPE to be able to start in that process. And we're very excited. The school district and the school board just approved in the last school board meeting a $500,000 purchase of updated and modern curriculum for not only this program, but our manufacturing program as well. And we're moving to partner more with Clackamas Community College and underway in the starts of being more manufacturing oriented and less hobby welding oriented. So very much looking forward to that. But we still have a long way to go, but we're in the infant stages of really transforming the processes. And then lastly, we're introducing a brand new CTE program starting next year. And we're currently looking for a qualified person to be the teacher of it, but we're opening up an electrical engineering program, and we've partnered with PGE as well as M2 integration in the industrial park to really begin to support a work field that is high wage, high demand, and short in the field of electricians. And so we're trying to build pathways through that program. And we're working with PGE right now to build a pre-apprenticeship program so that kids can come from Estacada High School directly into the PGE apprenticeship program in hopes to continue to sustain that. I love making a joke that 98% of PGE employees come from Estacada. And so it's awesome to be able to contribute to something that our community is so proud of, and that's working for PGE. And so excited about those and those pathways and opportunities. And just wanted to share that while we talk about the visionary work, the school district, we recognize plays a very large role in building that thriving community. And so we're doing our first step efforts to change how we're offering services to kids to better feed our community and serve and support local industry. So that's my commissioner's report.
What brilliant focuses for the school, diesel technician and electrical engineering. I mean,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
it's very exciting,
Well
and
done.
we're just getting started, but I'm just pleased that we've invested in a full-time person who can really give this the true attention that it needs. And we know our local businesses are hungry for this, and we also know, as Eric has tried at least 5 times to work with us in different ways, and we just continue to fumble the ball on our end. And so I'm excited to have some opportunity to try to reimagine what that could possibly look like. So.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay, with that said, I think we can adjourn the May meeting.
Thank you.
Great job, everybody.
55 minutes. Well done.
Hey, all right.